I've got an old gate on a fence I built and it's falling apart. I had originally put mitered corners on it and the wood just didn't hold up. It splintered and cracked. So I'm going to try a little different technique to build a gate, and we will cover the steps. This is a fort I built for the kids when they were small, and I'm going to dismantle it, and I'm going to use some of this lumber to repair the gate. Alright, so the first step, I'm going to remove the hinges, and then we'll lay out the gate and measure it up. Alright, I'm going to measure the height and the width so that it matches the rest of the fence, and then we will get some new lumber and create the frame for the gate. I took some 2x4s off that fort I built, and I'm going to cut them to size, and then we're going to create a half-lap joint to create a nice strong frame for this gate. The wood I picked from the fort, I made sure that I got them long enough so I can cut these ends off. I'm going to use a square to give me my lengths, and then I'll take the circular saw and cut the center of this wood out so that I have nice solid pieces of wood to use for the frame for the gate. The sawhorse I'm using has a real nice attachment that grabs a 2x4 on the end, and it'll hold it on both sides so that working alone it's going to be a real stable platform. And so I gave myself a real good line with the square, and we'll make our first cuts. Alright, I've got all 4 pieces cut to length and I've got them squared up. Now I'm going to mark them so that we can start cutting our half lap. Alright, now to create a half lap, what we're going to do is we're going to cut, because this is 1.5 inch thickness, I measured down 3/4 of an inch, and I set my circular saw so that the tip of the blade is only going to cut down to 3/4 of an inch. And what's going to happen is we're going to take away half of the material on this side of the 2x4, and then we're going to do the exact same thing on the other 2x4 that matches it. So they're going to butt together perfectly, and now we'll go to the next step of cutting. Alright, I plugged the circular saw back in. While you're adjusting your height, you should always unplug it. And now I've lined up 2 pieces and put a little weight on it so that it's not going to move on me. And I'm slowly going to work from my line back towards the front. Depending on how much you take away, or when you're working with a half lap, some guys like to start from the end and work this direction. But I'm going to make my initial cut here, and then we'll work toward the end. I'm going to continue cutting all the way to the end in short bits, and then we'll go to the next step. Alright, I'm taking away half the material, and you can see I put a bunch of cuts in the end. And actually, if you start from the end and work this direction, you've got a much more solid base. If you start from the end and work here, depending on how thin you cut your pieces, you'd actually be working on a little bit of an unstable platform. So it probably makes more sense to start from the end and work towards your line. Alright, so I'm going to continue this on the other side, and then we'll go to the other pieces. Okay, once you've got all your cuts, an easy way to clean it out is just take a hammer and just start giving it a whack, and you'll be able to clean 90% of it up, just like this. And then we're going to want to come back, and if you have a chisel or anything sharp, we don't have to go crazy on it, but we're just going to come back and we're going to clean up all the rest of this debris, and I'll probably grab a chisel and just clean this up, pushing it with a chisel and just getting a nice level platform so we can put the laps together. Alright, I notched out all 4 pieces of wood, cut half the distance down on each side, and we're going to fit it together. And what it's going to do is really create a wonderfully strong box, a nice frame to build this gate off of. So the next step, I'm going to get a little exterior grade wood glue, get it on both sides, and then we're going to screw it all together. Alright, I'm just going to get a little wood glue on each of the pieces, and I'm just going to spread it out. And I'm using just a regular exterior wood glue here. You could also use a polyurethane glue. If you're using a polyurethane glue, you'd want to take a damp rag and wipe all the surfaces first, because polyurethane needs moisture to cure. So I'm going to hit all 4 sides with glue, and then we'll screw it together. Alright, I got a couple screws in each corner, And it's always good to pre-drill with a drill bit half the diameter of the screw you're using so that your wood doesn't split. So I've got the 4 corners screwed down, and now I'm going to grab the pickets from the old gate and we'll put them on the new gate. I decided instead of putting the pickets on first, I'm going to hang the gate frame first. And originally it was hooked to this post that was kind of standing independently. I'm going to hook it to this post now. I think it's going to give me a little more support tied into the main part of the fence. And so our frame is matching the rest of the fence here. And so I'm going to attach a T-bracket on both sides, and then we'll hang it, and then we'll put our pickets on. Okay, I'm going to just use a pencil mark, and we're going to pre-drill first. I'm going to use a drill bit about half the diameter of the screws I'm using and create some pilot holes so we don't crack the wood. Alright, I put the hinges on and I attach the pickets, and that's going to turn into a really solid gate. So there are the steps to replace a gate using a half lap joint.